Chapter 17 of The Professor. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Barony. The Professor by Charlotte Bronte. Chapter 17. After all, I had profited but imperfectly by the opportunity I had so boldly achieved of speaking to Mademoiselle Henri. It was my intention to ask her how she came to be possessed of two English baptismal names, Francis and Evans, in addition to her French surname, also whence she derived her good accent. I had forgotten both points, or rather our colloquy had been so brief that I had not had time to bring them forward. Moreover, I had not half tested her powers of speaking English. All I had drawn from her in that language were the words "yes" and "thank you, sir." No matter, I reflected. What has been left incomplete now shall be finished another day. Nor did I fail to keep the promise thus made to myself. It was difficult to get even a few words of particular conversation with one pupil among so many, but according to the old proverb, where there is a will, there is a way, and again I managed to find an opportunity for exchanging a few words with Mademoiselle Henri, regardless that envy stared and detraction whispered whenever I approached her. "Your book an instant." Such was the mode in which I often began these brief dialogues. The time was always just at the conclusion of the lesson, and motioning to her to rise, I installed myself in her place, allowing her to stand deferentially at my side, for I esteemed it wise and right in her case to enforce strictly all forms ordinarily in use between master and pupil; the rather because I perceived that in proportion as my manner grew austere and magisterial, hers became easy and self-possessed, an odd contradiction, doubtless, to the ordinary effect in such cases, but so it was. "A pencil," said I, holding out my hand without looking at her. I am now about to sketch a brief report of the first of these conferences. She gave me one, and while I underlined some errors in a grammatical exercise she had written, I observed: "You are not a native of Belgium?" "No." "Nor of France?" "No." "Where, then, is your birthplace?" "I was born at Geneva." "You don't call Francis and Evans Swiss names, I presume?" "No, sir, they are English names." "Just so. And is it the custom of the Xviis to give their children English appellatives?" "No, monsieur, mais—" "Speak English, if you please." "Mais—" "English." "But," slowly and with embarrassment, "my parents were not all the two Genevièves." "Say both, instead of all the two, mademoiselle." "Not both Swiss. My mother was English." "Ah, and of English extraction?" "Yes, her ancestors were all English." "And your father?" "He was Swiss." "What besides? What was his profession?" "Ecclesiastic, pastor. He had a church." "Since your mother is an Englishwoman, why do you not speak English with more facility?" "Maman est morte il y a 10 ans." "And you do homage to her memory by forgetting a language. Have the goodness to put French out of your mind so long as I converse with you. Keep to English." "C'est si difficile, monsieur, quand on n'en a plus l'habitude." "You had the habitude formerly, I suppose. Now answer me in your mother tongue." "Yes, sir, I spoke the English more than the French when I was a child." "Why do you not speak it now?" "Because I have no English friends." "You live with your father, I suppose?" "My father is dead." "You have brothers and sisters?" "Not one." "Do you live alone?" "No, I have an aunt, ma tante Julienne." "Your father's sister?" "Justement, monsieur." "Is that English?" "No, but I forget." "For which, mademoiselle, if you were a child, I should certainly devise some slight punishment. At your age you must be 2 or 23, I should think.
Pas encore, monsieur. En moi j'aurai 19 ans.
Well, 19 is a mature age, and having attained it, you ought to be so solicitous for your own improvement that it should not be needful for a master to remind you twice of the expediency of your speaking English whenever practicable. To this wise speech I received no answer, and when I looked up, my pupil was smiling to herself a much meaning though not very gay smile. It seemed to say, he talks of he knows not what. It said this so plainly that I determined to request information on the point concerning which my ignorance seemed to be thus tacitly affirmed. Are you solicitous for your own improvement?
Rather.
How do you prove it, mademoiselle? An odd question, and bluntly put. It excited a second smile.
Why, monsieur, I am not inattentive, am I? I learn my lessons well.
Oh, a child can do that. And what more do you do?
What more can I do?
Oh, certainly not much. But you are a teacher, are you not, as well as a pupil?
Yes.
You teach lace mending?
Yes.
A dull, stupid occupation. Do you like it?
No, it is tedious.
Why do you pursue it? Why do you not rather teach history, geography, grammar, even arithmetic?
Is monsieur certain that I am myself thoroughly acquainted with these studies?
I do not know. You ought to be at your age.
But I never was at school, monsieur.
Indeed! What then were your friends? What was your aunt about? She is very much to blame.
No, monsieur, no, my aunt is good. She is not to blame. She does what she can. She lodges and nourishes me.
I report Mademoiselle Henri's phrases literally, and it was thus she translated from the French.
She is not rich. She has only an annuity of 1,200 francs, and it would be impossible for her to send me to school.
Rather, thought I to myself on hearing this, but I continued in the dogmatical tone I had adopted. It is sad, however, that you should be brought up in ignorance of the most ordinary branches of education. Had you known something of history and grammar, you might by degrees have relinquished your lace-mending drudgery and risen in the world.
It is what I mean to do.
How? By a knowledge of English alone? That will not suffice. No respectable family will receive a governess whose whole stock of knowledge consists in a familiarity with one foreign language.
Monsieur, I know other things.
Yes, yes, you can work with Berlin wools and embroider handkerchiefs and collars. That will do little for you. Mademoiselle Henri's lips were unclosed to answer, but she checked herself, as thinking the discussion had been sufficiently pursued, and remained silent. Speak, I continued impatiently. I never like the appearance of acquiescence when the reality is not there, and you had a contradiction at your tongue's end.
Monsieur, I have had many lessons both in grammar, history, geography, and arithmetic. I have gone through a course of each study.
Bravo! But how did you manage it, since your aunt could not afford to send you to school?
By lace mending, by the thing monsieur despises so much.
Truly? And now, mademoiselle, it will be a good exercise for you to explain to me in English how such a result was produced by such means.
Monsieur, I begged my aunt to have me taught lace mending soon after we came to Brussels, because I knew it was a métier, a trade which was easily learnt, and by which I could earn some money very soon. I learnt it in a few days, and I quickly got work, for all the Brussels ladies have old lace, very precious, which must be mended all the times it is washed. I earned money a little, and this money I gave for lessons in the studies I have mentioned. Some of it I spent in buying books, English books especially. Soon I shall try to find a place of governess or school teacher, when I can write and speak English well, but it will be difficult, because those who know I have been a lace mender will despise me, as the pupils here despise me. Pourtant j'ai mon projet, she added in a lower tone.
"What is it?"